The children need stability. Dad's voice was firm, final, like a judge delivering a sentence. I stood in my childhood bedroom, watching him pack my belongings into cardboard boxes, the same boxes they used to bring home my sister's twins' new toys last week. You're 23, Emma. You can find your own place. The twins need a proper home, and your sister's going through a rough patch. He didn't even look at me as he spoke, methodically emptying my drawers into boxes labeled donation. I watched him toss aside my college diploma, magna cum laude in financial management, like it was just another piece of paper. The irony wasn't lost on me. The daughter they were kicking out was the only one who'd ever held a steady job. A rough patch? I laughed, but it came out hollow. Sarah hasn't worked a day in her life. She got pregnant at 19, dropped out of community college, and now at 26, she's moving back in with her kids because her third boyfriend this year kicked her out. Dad's movements stiffened. Don't talk about your sister like that. She's a mother. She needs support. And what about my support? I've been paying rent here. I've been helping with the bills. My voice cracked, but I forced myself to continue. I've been contributing to this household since I was 18. That's different. Mom appeared in the doorway, arms crossed. You're capable. Independent. Sarah needs us. Independent. The word they always used when they didn't want to help me. Capable. Their excuse for expecting everything from me while expecting nothing from Sarah. I need 2 weeks, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Just 2 weeks to find a place. The twins need to start school next week, Mom replied, her tone suggesting I was being unreasonable. They need to settle in. Get stable. Stable. The word echoed in my head like a bad joke. Sarah, who'd never kept a job longer than 3 months, who'd burned through every relationship and every chance she'd been given, was suddenly the poster child for stability. Where am I supposed to go? I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. You have that nice job at the investment firm, Dad said, still not meeting my eyes. You can afford an apartment. Sarah can't. Of course. The job I'd worked hard for, the career I'd built while Sarah was bar hopping and collecting baby daddies, was now being used against me. Fine. I grabbed my laptop bag and a small suitcase. I'll get the rest later. Don't be dramatic, Emma, Mom sighed. We're not throwing you out. We're just asking you to understand. Family helps family. I turned to face her, really looked at her. Yes, Mom. Family helps family. I've been helping this family since I was old enough to work. I paid for your car repairs last month. I covered Dad's medical bills when his insurance lapsed. I bought Sarah's kids their school supplies. That's different. Dad cut in. You had the means. I had the means because I worked for them. I snapped. I had the means because while Sarah was partying through her 20s, I was studying, working, building a future. Your sister made different choices, Mom defended. She became a mother. She became irresponsible, I corrected. And you enabled her. Every time. The silence that followed was heavy, thick with unspoken truths. Dad resumed packing my things, his movements more aggressive now. Mom stood in the doorway, her face a mask of disapproval. You have until tonight, Dad finally said. Sarah and the twins are moving in tomorrow morning. I nodded, grabbed what I could carry, and walked out. They didn't follow me. They didn't ask where I would go. They didn't care. The next few days were a blur of hotel rooms and frantic apartment hunting. My salary was good, but in this city, most places wanted first and last month's rent plus a security deposit. The decent places had waiting lists. The available places weren't decent. I ended up in a small studio apartment above a noisy restaurant. It was all I could find on short notice. The rent was ridiculous, the neighbors were loud, and the whole place smelled like yesterday's curry. But it was mine. The first month was the hardest. I watched my bank account drain with each new expense: furniture, utilities, internet, basic necessities, things I'd taken for granted at home. Then came the calls. Emma, honey, Mom's voice dripped with fake sweetness. Sarah needs help with the twins' school supplies. We thought since you usually handle that. Emma, Dad this time. The car needs repairs again. Just a small thing. You know how tight things are with the twins here now. I let them go to voicemail. Each message was the same. They needed money, help, support. For Sarah, always for Sarah. But I was done. Them being their ATM. Done being the responsible one who got pushed aside. Done being stable for everyone else while my own stability was treated as disposable. Months passed. I threw myself into work, earned a promotion. The apartment above the restaurant became home. Not a great home, but mine. No one could kick me out to make room for someone else's bad decisions. Then came the message that changed everything. Emma, Mom's voice was frantic. Your sister, she's done something terrible. We need you. Please call back. I didn't. Not immediately. I sat in my curry-scented apartment, staring at my phone, remembering all the times they'd needed me. All the times they'd taken until I had nothing left to give. But curiosity won. I called back. She's gone. Mom sobbed. Sarah's gone. She took out loans in our names. Maxed out credit cards. She even remortgaged the house somehow. Used forged documents. I sat down, my legs suddenly weak. How much? Over $300,000. Dad's voice now, broken and old. She cleaned out our accounts too, even the twins' college fund. Everything's gone. The silence stretched between us. They were waiting for me to offer help, to be the stable one again, to fix their problems like I always had. The bank's foreclosing. Mom finally continued. We don't know what to do. Emma, please. We need my stability? I finished for her. The words tasted bitter. We were wrong, Dad whispered. We were so wrong. I looked around my small apartment, the place they'd never visited because it was beneath them. The home I made after they'd thrown me out for Sarah's stability. Yes, I said quietly, you were. Please, Mom begged. We have nowhere else to go. I closed my eyes, remembering that day in my childhood bedroom. The boxes labeled donation, the diploma tossed aside. The casual cruelty of being discarded for someone else's comfort. I'll think about it, I said and hung up. That night, I couldn't sleep. The restaurant below was quiet for once, but my mind was loud with memories. Sarah, always the favorite, always the one who needed help. Me, always the reliable one, always the one expected to give that help. My phone kept buzzing with messages. Mom, Dad, even some relatives I hadn't heard from in years. All of them suddenly remembered I existed. All of them suddenly needed my stability. I got up, made coffee, and opened my laptop. I had savings now. Good savings. The promotion had come with a significant raise, and without family draining my accounts, I'd managed to put away a decent amount. Enough to help them, if I wanted to. Enough to let them learn from their mistakes if I didn't. The sun was rising over the city when I finally made my decision. The smell of curry was starting to waft up from the restaurant below as the morning crew began their prep work. In a few hours, my parents would probably call again, desperate for an answer. I had one ready for them. But first, I had some calls to make, some arrangements to set up, some boundaries to establish. Because this time, if I helped, it would be on my terms. This time, stability would come with conditions. This time, I wouldn't be the one packing my things into donation boxes. This time, I would be the one deciding who needed stability, and what that stability would cost them. The curry smell grew stronger as I picked up my phone, ready to return their calls. It no longer bothered me. It smelled like independence, like strength, like the stability I'd built for myself after they'd torn mine away. It smelled like karma coming home to roost, and I was ready to serve it. The meeting was set for Sunday morning at a small cafe downtown, neutral territory. I arrived early, watching through the window as my parents pulled up in their old Honda, looking smaller somehow, diminished. They weren't the towering figures who'd packed my life into donation boxes anymore. Emma, Mom reached for a hug, but I stepped back, gesturing to the seats. Her arms fell awkwardly to her sides. Let's talk business, I said, opening my laptop. I've reviewed your situation. Dad flinched at my tone, professional, detached, the same tone they used when telling me to leave my home. The total damage is $328,467, I continued. This includes the remortgage, personal loans, credit card debt, and the emptied accounts. Does that sound correct? They nodded, looking down at their untouched coffees. Before we discuss solutions, I need to know everything. Where are the twins? With our neighbor, Mom whispered. They're confused, asking for Sarah. And you have no idea where she is. Dad shook his head. She left a note. Said she needed to find herself. said the pressure of being a mother was too much. I almost laughed. Sarah, who'd never faced pressure in her life, who had been coddled and protected from every consequence, was suddenly overwhelmed by responsibility. I've prepared 2 options, I said, turning my laptop around. Option 1. I help you file for bankruptcy. You'll lose the house, but most debts will be discharged. You can rent a small apartment, start over. And option 2? Dad asked, hope creeping into his voice. I buy the house, I stated flatly. Pay off the debts. You can stay. But as my tenants, with a formal lease agreement and conditions. Their eyes widened. Mom's hand trembled as she reached for her coffee. You can afford that? Dad stammered. I've done well, I replied. Despite being kicked out, I've managed to build something stable. The word hung between us like a weapon. What are the conditions? Mom asked quietly. I pulled out a document. First, if Sarah returns, she's not welcome in the house. Not for visits, not to stay, not for any reason. But she's your sister, Mom protested weakly. No, I cut her off. She's your daughter who stole everything from you. She's a criminal who committed fraud. She's a mother who abandoned her children, but she's not my sister anymore. Dad started to speak, but I continued. Second, the twins stay. They need stability, remember. I'll set up a trust for their education, one that neither you nor Sarah can access. They nodded, relief flooding their faces. Third, you both get jobs. Real jobs. I don't care where or what, but you work. No more living off others. No more enabling bad behavior. Emma, Dad began, his pride trying to resurface. We're not. Not what? I interrupted, not young. Not used to working? Welcome to reality, Dad. The reality I've lived in since you packed my things away. Silence fell. The cafe bustled around us. People living their normal Sunday lives, unaware of the drama unfolding at our table. Those are the main conditions, I concluded. There's more in the agreement. You have until tomorrow to decide. Bankruptcy or tenancy, your choice. I stood up, gathering my things. Wait, Mom reached for my hand. Thank you, for considering helping us. I looked at her hand on mine, remembering all the times it had pushed me aside for Sarah. I'm not doing this for you, I said quietly. I'm doing it for those kids. They deserve what I never got, real stability. We were wrong, Dad said, his voice breaking. So wrong. Yes, you were. I pulled my hand away. Let me know your decision by tomorrow. Either way, your lives change. I walked out, leaving them with their cold coffee and colder realizations. Outside, the autumn air was crisp, carrying the promise of change. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Emma, it's Sarah. Mom gave me your number. I made a mistake. I need help. I blocked the number without reading further. Some mistakes don't deserve fixing. Some stability needs to be earned. Walking to my car, I felt lighter somehow. Not because I was helping them, but because for the first time, I was choosing how and why to help. The power had shifted. The curry smell from my apartment greeted me when I got home. I didn't mind it anymore. It smelled like victory. Tomorrow they would choose, but really, their choice had been made years ago, when they decided my stability was worth less than Sarah's chaos. Now they were learning that stability, like karma, comes with a price. And I was finally the one setting that price. They chose the tenancy agreement. Of course they did. Pride bends easily when faced with bankruptcy. The next few weeks were a symphony of paperwork, legal meetings, and hard adjustments. I hired a property management company to handle the lease. Everything would be professional, documented, and at arm's length. No more emotional manipulation. No more family favors. Your rent is due on the 1st, I explained, watching them sign the papers in my lawyer's office. Late payments have consequences. This isn't like before. Mom wiped away tears as she signed. Dad's hand shook, but his signature was clear. The mighty had fallen, and they were falling into a safety net they never thought they'd need. The twins, Alex and Amy, were surprisingly adaptable. At 8 years old, they understood more than anyone gave them credit for. Is Mommy coming back? Amy asked one day as I helped them with homework, part of my new routine of weekly visits. No, sweetie. I replied honestly. But you have people who will never leave you. Like you? Alex looked up from his math problems. Yes, I promised. Like me. The changes in the house were dramatic. Mom got a job as a receptionist at a dental office. Dad swallowed his pride and took work as a night security guard. Their schedules were tight, their lives suddenly revolving around alarm clocks and paychecks. Welcome to the real world I'd lived in since college. But the biggest change came 3 months after they signed the lease. I was reviewing their monthly payment records when my phone rang, a number from Las Vegas. "Hello?" I answered cautiously. "Emma?" Sarah's voice, slurred and desperate. I need help. I'm in trouble." I muted my phone, took a deep breath, then unmuted. "Wrong number." "No, wait. Please. I know I messed up, but I'm your sister. I need." "You need?" I cut her off. Like the twins needed their mother, like our parents needed their retirement savings, like I needed a home when you took mine. Silence, then sobbing. "I'm sorry. I'll pay everyone back. I just need a little help getting started. Maybe I could come home for a while." I laughed, a cold, sharp sound that surprised even me. "Home? You mean my property? The house you remortgaged without permission?" "That home." "Mom and Dad said they're living there." I thought. "They're my tenants," I interrupted, "and the lease specifically excludes you. You're not welcome there. Not now, not ever. You can't do this." Her voice rose, hysteria creeping in. "They're my kids. My parents." "Were," I corrected. "You lost all rights when you committed fraud and abandoned your children. Speaking of which, the police would love to know where you are." The line went dead. I immediately called my lawyer, then the police, providing Sarah's location. Then I called my parents. "She contacted you?" Mom's voice was small. "Yes, she's in Las Vegas. I've informed the authorities." "Emma," Dad started, "maybe if we all talk." "No," I cut him off. The agreement was clear. She comes near the house, you lose your lease. She contacts the twins, you lose your lease. This isn't a negotiation. More silence. "We understand," Mom finally said. And they did understand finally, because now they had something to lose. Now they knew what it felt like to depend on someone else's stability. The police found Sarah 2 days later in a cheap motel off the strip. She'd blown through most of the stolen money. The charges were serious: fraud, theft, forgery. She faced significant time. Mom and Dad wanted to hire a lawyer for her. I reminded them of their lease conditions. "But she's facing prison," Mom pleaded. "Yes," I agreed. "Actions have consequences. Something you should have taught her years ago." They didn't argue further. They couldn't afford to, literally and figuratively. The twins took the news of their mother's arrest better than expected. Perhaps because they'd already grieved her loss when she abandoned them. Perhaps because they'd found something better, real stability. I increased my visits to twice a week, helping with homework, attending school events, being the responsible adult Sarah never was. The trust I'd set up for their education grew steadily. Their grades improved. They smiled more. One evening, as I was leaving after dinner, they'd insisted on cooking to thank me. Amy hugged me tight. "Aunt Emma," she whispered, "I'm glad you're a stable person." I hugged her back, feeling something heal inside me. The wound of being thrown away was still there, but it had scared over, stronger than before. "Me too, sweetie," I replied. "Me too." Walking to my car, I passed Dad returning from his security shift. He looked tired, older, but somehow more real than the man who packed my things into donation boxes. "Emma," he called softly, "thank you. Not just for the house, but for showing us what stability really means." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak, because sometimes stability isn't about staying in one place. Sometimes it's about knowing when to leave, when to return, and how to rebuild on your own terms. The curry smell welcomed me home again, but now it smelled different, like justice served, like lessons learned, like stability earned rather than demanded. And somewhere in Las Vegas in a cell, Sarah was learning her own lessons about stability. Too late for her, perhaps, but just in time for everyone else. 5 years passed like turning pages in a well-worn book. Each chapter brought changes, some subtle, some profound. The twins turned 13. Alex made the honor roll, while Amy discovered a talent for art. Their trust fund had grown enough to guarantee college wherever they chose to go. They called me Aunt Emma now, not out of obligation, but with genuine affection. My parents aged into their roles as working-class grandparents. Mom's receptionist job became a career. She was office manager now. Dad's security position led to a supervisor role. They paid their rent on time, every time. Pride had transformed into something quieter, more authentic. Sarah served 3 years and was released on probation. She tried to contact the twins once, through social media. I shut that down immediately, reminding my parents of the lease terms. They didn't argue. Some bridges stay burned. As for me, I left the curry-scented apartment behind. Bought a house of my own in a quiet neighborhood, close enough to check on the twins, but far enough to maintain boundaries. Success had a different flavor now. It tasted like choices made on my own terms. Then came the day that brought everything full circle. I was reviewing property statements when Mom called, her voice steady, unlike that desperate day 5 years ago. "Emma, we need to talk about the lease." My heart stuttered for a moment. "Is everything okay?" "Yes," she said. "Better than okay. Your father and I, we've been saving. We'd like to buy the house back. Not all at once, but maybe with a payment plan." I sat back, surprised by the emotion welling up in my throat. "We understand if you say no," she continued. "You've done more than enough. But we want to stand on our own feet again. Show the twins what real responsibility looks like." I thought about the donation boxes, the cruel dismissals, the years of favoring Sarah. Then I thought about the past 5 years, the quiet dinners, the school plays, the gradual rebuilding of trust. "Come over tomorrow," I said. "Bring Dad. Bring the paperwork showing your savings. We'll talk." They arrived precisely on time, dressed like people going to a job interview rather than meeting their daughter. Dad carried a folder full of bank statements and a carefully worked-out payment plan. "We can manage the monthly payments," he explained, pointing to their calculations. "We've been practicing, putting the amount aside beyond rent to prove we could do it." I looked at their numbers, their planning, their effort to rebuild not just their finances, but their dignity. "Okay," I said finally, "but with conditions." They nodded, ready to accept whatever I demanded. First, the twins' trust fund remains untouchable. Second, the no Sarah rule stays in effect, even if you own the house again. Third, I paused, meeting their eyes. "You have to promise to remember what stability really means." Mom started crying, but these weren't the manipulative tears of the past. Dad reached for her hand, his own eyes glistening. "We'll never forget," he promised. "You taught us what we should have taught you." We signed the preliminary paperwork that day. It would take them 10 years to pay off the house, but they would do it. I knew they would, because finally they understood the value of stability. That evening, I sat in my new home, no curry smell in sight, and felt something settle in my soul. The angry daughter who'd been kicked out was still there, but she'd grown into someone stronger, someone who could offer stability without losing herself. My phone buzzed, a group text from the twins. "Thank you for helping Grandma and Grandpa buy the house. You're the best aunt ever." I smiled, remembering Amy's words from years ago about being their stable person. Sometimes stability isn't about staying put. Sometimes it's about knowing how to help others stand on their own. The sun set outside my window, painting the sky in shades of possibility. Somewhere across town, my parents were probably celebrating their first step toward homeownership. The twins were likely doing homework or planning their weekend. And me? I was exactly where I needed to be. Stable. Strong. Free. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't punishment, it's teaching others the very lesson they failed to teach you. That's what real stability looks like.